there is one thing that people are spouting, and it's just not true, alright? My Hero Academia's ending is not bad. In fact, it's not as bad as people are saying it is. There are, like, tiny things that can raise a couple of questions, like how he never ends up with Uraraka, or how they made him lose all his quirks, but then they gave him that whole suitcase Iron Man thing so he can contend with quirks. But I feel like it really just dumbs down to like Western anime fans they aren't that smart. And also the fact that the people watching this ending are also MHA fans. But let's pretend like that's not the case, and let's really look at this ending. So at the beginning of My Hero Academia, Deku says, "This is the story of how I became the greatest hero of all time." And so we look at the end, well, he took on All for One, which is a quirk that literally has not been defeated ever since that first glowing baby was born, carrying quirks. 180 years, One for All has existed. The most heinous villain of all time. And Deku was the one to finally put him in the grave. And that fight was broadcast across national television all around the world. Everyone was watching this. Even people who didn't know anything, even kids who didn't even know where Japan was, were watching this take place. And he did what past users weren't able to do, actually defeat One for All. And through the hero ranking system, people declared All Might as the greatest hero of all time, which includes individual people saved, approval ratings, whether if they actually liked the way they got saved or not. Then, I don't know the exact number of people All Might saved, but I feel like if the entire world was watching you defeat the strongest villain of all time on live television, then I think your approval rating would shoot way up. And technically, you basically stopped a world war from happening, people going into disarray all across the globe, a demon king rising up. If you really think of that, that basically ranks him above All Might, just for doing this feat, just for performing this feat. Whether you like it or not, the kid saved the world. That would basically put his approval rating at basically the population of the Earth. But let's be humble and say at least 1 billion. Yeah, I could see that as best hero of all time numbers. Yeah, that's greatest hero of all time numbers. And he's basically famous after this. That one kid looks up to him, and he's mentioned alongside the name All Might of great heroes. I still can't believe that one kid said, "I want to be just like Explosion Murder God Dynamite." But looking past this, there's one big plot point that didn't get solved at the end of the story. What about Uraraka? They're talking about her being interested in Deku is mentioned over and over again, and her crush on him is like built up as this grand thing. There was literally, during the war, she almost lost her life to this. Someone lost their life to this, definitely. What about the clones of Twice, the Sad Man's Parade, that almost kill people on completely different battlefields, and that just didn't get resolved? Even a panel of even just including a wedding ring on Deku's finger or a ring on Uraraka's finger in the panels that they ended up in after the time skip, then that would have been fine. Then that would have been enough. I think people would have put the pieces together. But instead, for that entire fight that she risked her life for and actually was the closest to dying that she's ever been, nothing happens. This is probably the biggest sin that Horikoshi has done, honestly. This is probably the worst part about My Hero Academia's ending, but it's still not a bad one. After all, they did wrap up everything to do with Endeavor's family and gave them a pretty realistic ending. An aspect of My Hero Academia that I've appreciated a lot, and I think it kind of goes underappreciated actually, is that Endeavor's family is so realistic. They're the most realistic characters in the show. The entire dynamic of this family, them not ever wanting to forgive Endeavor, it's too real to these are actual households. It feels like I'm watching a real household. I'm glad they at least wrapped up Todoroki's arc, but it's more like the Endeavor family, the Todoroki family, is almost as if it's one character. But now back to things that I would change about the original ending. Well, I think the fact that Deku gets a whole robotic Iron Man suit type thing is kind of crazy. I feel like they could have just given him that thing that support item that Eraser uses, because it's kind of like Black Whip. He already used Black Whip, and I think that would be kind of dangerous if he was quirkless and using that. So maybe they could give him a support item that could help him catch his fall or something like that. Something soft. Maybe something to do with Uraraka, ? Come on. But yeah. What people forget about the ending is that the story is meant to be about you. It's a lesson to you. It doesn't matter what happens to Deku and everyone else. And I actually think there would be one more thing I would change about it. Or two more things I would change about it. One, that awful haircut. And two, the fact you haven't subscribed yet. I have 576 right now, but you can make it 577 if you press that button. And yeah, subscribe, and that'll be it.